How you been, Greg?
This mission will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Right. Wasn't convincing.
I started the camera.
Busy?
As usual.
Gee, this. Yeah.
Started the camera.
Don't need to get a special use when they build the station, but it's
Just bring it
special
in
use
as
for
is.
people. Yeah, so it's no rezoning at all. So it's pretty simple.
Good.
They should have it. They just need to vote.
Vote, sign it.
Yeah.
We still run that through the planning commission, even though so when it doesn't ask for zoning,
Right. It comes. It just comes
straight
right
to us.
Because
There we go.
They're the same notice because there's no hearing, so they're saying, I know.
I'll double check because it's coming in under 7, 8. We might need to do some. There are no township roads that either. Also, we need to notice
No, because I don't.
the township.
The frontage road is the one, and that's the state or the county. On the
That was
frontage
the
road.
county. We might need to send out some notice, but either way, we'll be able to get it done before the next meeting, as soon as they pass it.
Yeah. I'm not sure when they met. If they met last week or I don't remember their meeting schedule for their board.
As soon as,
But they were asking, so as soon as they have it,
as
that's
soon as they have the signed one, we can get the notices going. Okay. Set it for board meeting.
all right. 6 p.m. We'll call the village board meeting to order. Would you all join me in a moment of silence, please? The Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, do you have the roll?
Trustee Mann.
Here.
Trustee Gerger.
Present.
Trustee Fountain.
Here.
Trustee Lindhorst.
Here.
Trustee Mao.
Here.
Trustee Scherschel.
Present.
Village President Kimsey.
Present. Can I have a motion to allow Trustee Lindhorst to participate by phone?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Motion by Trustee Mao, second by Trustee Fountain. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome to the meeting, Nina. Public announcements this evening. Hearing none. Pat, could you hand me the sheets, please? Nobody signed up for public comments on the agenda topics. Is there any additional comment? Hearing none. We have a motion to put the consent agenda on the table.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee
second.
Mao, seconded by Trustee Mann. Questions or discussion regarding the minutes or the warrants?
Yes, with the warrants, there's 2 different bills for Petersburg Plumbing and Excavation, one for just over $18,000, one just over $19,000 that I'd like to put on hold until we can look into a little bit deeper, just to make sure they aren't consecutive bills with just some additional charges on the second.
Trustee Fountain's made a motion to pull the Petersburg Plumbing invoices from the warrants. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those 2 will be pulled. Any further discussion regarding the warrants or the minutes? Hearing none. Madam Clerk?
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Fountain.
Yes.
Trustee Lindhorst.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Scherschel.
Yes.
No old business. Under new business, item 1 is a motion. Can I have a motion to put the resolution to endorse the execution of the revised transportation planning agreement between Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning Commission and the Village of Chatham?
So moved.
Trustee Scherschel has made a motion, second by Trustee Fountain. With discussion, Pat, you want to give a quick?
Essentially, you guys passed this ordinance back in April. Since then, the state has revised what the Sangamon Area Transportation Study, their fee towards working as together as a team. So that changed our part of the fee. So instead of just sending us a bill for another $1,000 or $2,000, they have to send us a completely new resolution to pass. And then Sorling wrote one where it negates the previous one that we passed and then enforces this one. So that's what's in front of you.
Questions?
What was the major change?
The price of how much our share is. It went up.
How much?
The total cost is $8,498. Other discussion, questions? Hearing none. Madam Clerk?
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Fountain.
Yes.
Trustee Lindhorst.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Item 2 under new business, can I have a motion to put the revised resolution approving a municipal utility easement agreement between the Village of Chatham and the Greater Springfield Hindu Temple?
So moved.
Excuse me, Trustee Gerger's made a motion. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Mao. The temple just requested a clarification. This was an electric easement.
It's an electric easement that we paid for with a transformer. But the verbiage in there was confusing to them. They thought that we were going to run the electric line through that easement to get up to their building, and that's not the case. So they asked us to change the verbiage in there.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk?
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Fountain.
Yes.
Trustee Lindhorst.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
All right, do we have additional public comments regarding village business this evening? Anybody that wanted to give a public comment during the committee, we've got 10 minutes before we can start that, so if you want to jump up now. Anyone?
Dan Snow.
We can't even convince somebody to come up and talk to us. Hearing none, schedule of meetings, the Planning Commission, 6 p.m. July 19th, Village Board, 6 p.m. June 26th, Public Properties and Recreation Committee, 6 p.m. July 9th, Chatham Police Commission, 5:30 August 16. We have no need for an executive session this evening. And with no further business, a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Trustee Mao, second by Trustee Gerger. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll take a 10-minute intermission and start the committee. Meeting stands adjourned.
Has everyone seen these?
And then Pat.
Am I the end of the line?
We'll show Nina.
Molly still also signed that.
Yeah, sure, show Nina.
She showed up after.
Word.
I don't get her upset. She might think I said it.
Got his meetings confused. It gives me the ones that are going to run really well. All right. That's more.
Now you're ready. This was 1, this is 2.
I turned the speakers off during our break here.
Oh.
How fancy you are.
Yeah. Either way. I think we'll have stuff for the committee to discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't gotten anything proposed by them. I think they're still working through those. And, I mean, we're gonna have enough time to get them passed in August. By the time we get there, we all. I'm gonna call them. Hey, what do you think?
What is that?
Through the nominations for the volunteer drive.
Months ago.
Community park.
Oh, yeah, I would actually like to see that. Or no, right?
Yeah.
Can you pass that over to, thank you, Dave?
Yes. Yeah. No.
I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're always nice.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm thinking blood drive. You doing a blood drive?
I'm all out for today. I'm sorry. I'm shocked. If they took any more, I'd be done. No, but it feels like it.
How was Hamilton? Yeah, you guys went to it a long time ago. Yeah, but we've never talked about it. Was it worth it? We even didn't have Hamilton.
I know. See, it's like
I think it's supposed to say theater.
it's like in the big movie. Have you seen that with Tom Hanks, where it's like with the magician or fortune teller? Anything crazy that around like that?
Just rabbits.
I've never seen
I hit one last summer. I didn't.
I
just got rid of
saw a little fawn. Because I know that. I know I've dealt with that. I don't think I've ever seen the limited. Was
that good?
Yes.
My wife and daughter went to Carol Burnett in Chicago, that's when the cops were outside my house.
I bet that.
She said it was great. Is Tim Conway there? I think he's having bad health too. But she talked about Vicky Lawrence. I don't know. It was just her. She said she answered audience questions. It was kind of like an elongated version of how the show used to be, where she'd answer questions to the audience. Did she do a monologue before she did that? And then she told stories about the show. Where did she do this at? A small theater in Chicago. I don't know which one. Yeah, and then her really good friend who's a Carol Burnett fan, and her mom. And my daughter's friend's a redhead. She had a sign, and it was her birthday. She had a big sign. And Carol didn't call her. And the audience was even yelling at her calling her. I'm like, you realize she's 85 years old. She's
needed to be a lot longer.
Like a flashbang or something. Oh, hey, what's over there?
Real quick deal with
Yeah,
he said she looked really good for.
she did like an introduction.
That's why I generally get pilot series for someone.
Right.
something.
Kiss at him.
No, I don't have this.
Hey Pat, do you want me to just put these with Bill's things?
I mean, it's so expensive.
Yeah. Last Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah. It's right by in your neck of the woods.
You didn't know anything about it?
Yeah, they had this kid. He was a younger kid. Little chubby, looked young. They had him out. We're talking to him for a long time. I mean, it was 20 minutes into the stop before I noticed they were there. When he texted me from Chicago, what are you doing at the house? I'm like, watching TV. Me and Max are watching a movie. And she's like, why are the cops there? How do you know cops are here? She goes, every neighbor has texted me that the cops are lighting up our street. I didn't even know. When you went into the hall, though, you saw it. I mean, it lit up the whole front of the house.
Where did we get it?
Like, oh.
Well, there was a
Today, the safety thing.
Random emails.
You pick.
yeah.
Thing over. It's on 180.
Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering because like
Kurt Brown's going to go.
yeah,
Straight back to the
oh, 100%. Yeah, like you email you.
So then we're going to.
Christopher Lock is his gift.
Yeah, fall.
I think it should be Terry myself. But
Yeah.
You know, it was.
What's going on?
Did you go to Florida recently too?
No, we go to.
I think it's in the couch.
Oh.
I can't drive with my kids at Jacksonville. So my son actually gets motion sickness too, so there's always projectile vomit. That was good.
oh, that's always fun. Set your clock by the vomit.
It was awful. We were 10 minutes in to home from Lake Michigan, and
That's a big home.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sick. And then he just 10 minutes in the right.
Oh, yeah. We have another 5 hours.
Yes, it was awful. So we just try to.
Did you just do it once?
That's how we just did it once.
We could have somehow
Usually it's only once, and then you
had like a corporate
just have
sponsor.
morning milk and everything. So
Like Pepsi.
You should just let him ride it.
we did a gas station, pull over, and
Get him a roller's feet.
Like one comedian was talking about is they didn't even have seat belts when he was little because your dad liked to slam on the brakes there. You had to pay attention. So your head would go off the dashboard with the seat in front of you.
Wisconsin dairy farmers. It was
By yourself,
How
you
much
have kids
actually
with
it
you.
would cost?
It was very important.
all by myself. That's what I used to. I was a 4-year-old, so I was like,
You want to take them to
oh
shopping?
my
with you?
gosh, no. My 4-year-old, I can take her sometimes, and then she always wants to eat toys.
Just take them down cereal.
Yeah, that'd be problematic, Paul.
It would cost trouble. Yeah. It would cost trouble.
The speaker's still on.
Speakers are back on.
Oh, can I have a? Yeah. Can I have a call to order? That goes in the secret. Roll call.
Trustee Mann.
Here.
Trustee Gerger.
Present.
Trustee Fountain.
Here.
Trustee Lindhorst.
Yes, here.
Trustee Mao.
Present.
Trustee Churchill.
Present. Can I have a motion to bring Nina in via the phone?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Trustee Mao, seconded by Trustee Mann. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's so moved. All right, public comments on agenda topics. I've got none on agenda topics. I've got some on village business. So we can move on from that. Have a motion to bring the consent agenda to the table.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Trustee Churchill, seconded by Trustee Mao. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of Tuesday, May 8th, 2018 Committee of the Whole meeting?
What you just got.
Oh, I did. Sorry. All those in any discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Old business, none. New business, CMT engineering updates.
Hey, good evening. A couple of items here to go through. Yeah.
No.
Yes. Yes. Perfect. Okay, a couple items to go through here involving engineering items with the village. First of all, ground storage tank painting has been completed. That was put back into service and is fully operational. Accompanied with that was the vault work, altitude valve, transducer, flow meters, and the work associated with that. We've got a few minor tweaks associated with the SCADA system and dialing that system in, but the majority of that work at that site has been complete. We're looking at September, after September 1st, starting on the elevated tank and moving forward with that project. Next week, we are taking bids for a utility building, a precast building, to replace the what I call the Menard shed that's currently sitting underneath the elevated tank that houses the transducer that controls the water elevation in the tank that froze and caused the overflow this past winter. And then there's communications equipment in there as well. So looking at relocating that equipment to a new building on the concrete pad just north of the existing elevated tank. That was the home of AT&T getting bids next week on that, and hopefully we can move forward with that project in advance of doing the elevated tank painting.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
Did they pretty much hit their schedule for the ground tank as far as what they had planned on?
Yeah, we were pretty much right on schedule. I think maybe a couple of days behind, associated with some coordination of SCADA work and some of the vault work, at that site. But within just a couple of days of trying to bring that online.
Okay, so weather dependent, they don't anticipate any issues with getting the elevated tank done before winter hits.
Actually, the elevated tank will be much easier because the issues are probably more related to the vault work and the equipment associated with the vault work. Painting activities went very smooth with the ground storage tank. So the local work at the elevated tank is painting. We're pushing hard with the contractor to get all the approvals, shop drawings, and everything else approved during the summer so they can hit the ground running September 1.
Okay.
Was that building, the new building we're going to build, was that part of this bid as well?
No, that is a separate activity.
Okay.
Next one, Plummer Boulevard. We are having a pre-construction meeting tomorrow at 10:30 here at the Village to meet with the general contractor and pipelining contractor. They're looking at starting that work next Monday. So we'll probably experience some lane closures along Plummer Boulevard during working hours, probably for about a week or so while that work goes forward. But I expect the pipelining activities will probably take about 2.5 days at most, then followed up with the sidewalk repairs, curb gutter repairs, pavement repairs associated with the settlement issues as a result of the sewer failures. But we'll have some lane reductions and so forth, and probably get that out to the public notification, and then also out by police and emergency services as well. There'll be some lane restrictions through there. Will be anticipated to be down to 1 lane for the bulk work. Next project, North Park. We're looking at wrapping up plans here this week and looking at advertising that project starting next Thursday. We'll do that for a 2-week period, and then the following week after that, we'll accept bids and make recommendation for award. Our goal with that is to get the sidewalk ramps, drainage, curb and gutter work done before school. That way we have a clear access point for pedestrians and children going to school, since that's a main route. And then, as soon as possible, we'll get the milling and overlay of the roadway completed. But that will be coming up here pretty quickly. Another project we have going on, Brave Homes is moving forward with Glendale Unit 4, and that's at Grove Street, Magnolia. They've started in with the sanitary sewer work and the water main work associated with that development. That should be wrapped up here by the end of the year. Another item that we've completed here since we last talked was submitted the annual permit for the MS4 IEPA permits, which is an annual requirement. Village Chatham is an MS4 community. We're required to update that permit, and what it is basically control of municipal stormwater sewers. And part of that is the subdivision or the individual lot erosion control ordinance that we passed last year, and trying to keep the waterways clean, keep the silts out of the waterways, debris, keep the sewers clean, and just stay on top of that. One of the things that we're going to have to do moving forward is there's going to be a public outreach component of that, and working with Ryan Crawford in terms of getting something on the village website. I know one big ticket item that's kind of come up a lot recently is just maintenance and care and activities associated with the rear yard drainage swales, trying to keep debris out of those, grass clippings and so forth. But EPA wants to have a public involvement component with this, discuss it at village board meetings, and just bring that kind of into the public eye, so everyone's kind of a part of keeping the sewers, the streams, the waterways clean. Then last item I have here is MFT motor fuel tax closeout. usually Pat just give the signed documents for that, so closing out fiscal year 2017, 2018 fiscal year MFT programs. So brings that one to a close as moving forward with the 2018, 2019. What I had.
Question on the water plant.
Yes.
Do we know where we're at with the chloramine?
The chloramine, they have the permit. They awarded 2 contracts for that type of work. One of them was to Petersburg and one of them was to Prairie State. I know Prairie State's was going to be at least 10 weeks out with the parts that they were going to need. I'm not sure on Petersburg's part of it.
Okay.
So it wouldn't take place for at least 10 weeks from now?
Your company was doing the...
Same company was running all pumps, all the scales and everything. It's 10-week delivery.
Okay.
That was from the equipment only, probably 3 weeks on top of that for installation. It's usually about 13 weeks. And at this point in time, I don't know if there's been any contracts issued. So we have no contract.
Okay. Well, they voted to award those contracts, but I don't know if they've signed them yet.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the other question I would have is, I know we had some, not necessarily boil orders, but we went to Springfield Water the past week.
We did. It was a week ago.
Yeah, Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, a week ago Sunday.
What had happened was they had some sort of a breakdown in their automated control system, SCADA system. From what, in coordination with them, their system went down at 8 p.m. on Saturday, and they did not realize that it was down until 9 a.m. on Sunday. At that point, the clear well had gone dry, and our ground storage tank, which was already in service at that point, started dropping. We took a look at our SCADA system. Bill Brown saw that on Sunday morning, immediately called IEPA. We got in contact with David Cook on that and discussed with EPA and South Sangamon what the proper protocol would be. South Sangamon immediately called the boil order. EPA made a ruling that Chatham did not need to be on a boil order. The equipment at the vault worked exactly as planned. The valve shut automatically, which isolated Chatham's system from South Sangamon's system. So my understanding is that the boil order, in terms of coordinating with EPA, is more related to you have a day's worth of water and contact time during that pipeline, and that's kind of what David Cook's opinion was on that. Therefore, did not issue a boil order for the village of Chatham. Now, once everything was all clear, the valve was allowed to be opened back up again, and then South Sangamon pumped at a restricted limit until their system was fully up to charge. During that time, we also contacted CWLP and garnered additional water at the Route 4 connection during that period to make up for the loss of service being provided by South Sangamon.
I think one of the parts of confusion I know that I even personally had was, when one website said there's a boil order for all of South Sangamon Water Commission's customers, and then the other website said there is no boil order. I think, and I know I'm not the only one that was confused as to, what is it? Do we not have one being a South Sangamon Water Commission customer, or do we not have one?
I brought that up to him at the last meeting and told him, I said, you guys have got to get better at putting out your information. I said, you put out that all your customers were under a boil order. And I said, that's not the case. So everybody is questioning that. So as soon as we found that out, we put on our webpage that the village of Chatham is not under a boil order. And we tried to get that to the press to let them know that. But it seems like once they get a story on their scroll, it stays there for 2-3 days at a time. So it just kept coming up that all the South Sangamon water customers were on a boil order, which was not the case.
Yeah, and that's a problem because, as we all know the story of the little boy and the wolf or whatever, if you cry wolf and nothing's there, but then next time will people believe what that website says and,
Now, the EPA, did they require us to check to make sure the chlorine levels are
Yeah,
throughout?
every time we take water from the city of Springfield, they ask us to take extra water chlorine samples around town.
And those
Make sure.
samples have been normal or within?
Everything, surprisingly, everything runs very consistent. So what the pressures that they bring in keep those areas that it feeds into balanced, and then the other side is balanced. We've gone through and run numbers, 2-3 times a day, and we go back to the same spots and stuff, and the numbers are very consistent through those areas. So that's what they want to see.
Okay.
They don't want to see giant fluctuations in your chlorine levels. So.
Yeah, so, my biggest issue, to kind of follow up what Trustee Mound stated, and what I'm about to say is no reflection to anybody in this room, but I think us as a board, we do have to start applying pressure on the SSWC, even more than what we have done to this point. And the reason being is their actions made our folks look like clowns, even though we all know that they were not, that they were doing their job, and they did their job to an excellent capacity. But them issuing that boil order that stated every one of their customers was under a boil order does not reflect well on what happens in this village. And I had this conversation with Pat, that day, and I don't want our guys to look like that ever in any circumstance, and I don't want to have Pat to negotiate that every time that they make a mistake, because what are we supposed to do? Monitor what they're doing on a daily basis? They've got to get their stuff together, and it cannot fall on us to manage what they're doing. It can't, and it makes my blood boil when I'm standing here on our last meeting, or sitting here, and we're having a conversation of trying to maintain a visual, eliminating signs for video gambling, but yet we turn around and one of our primary services is messed up because of their inability to monitor their own systems. It's beyond irritating at this point. We have to do something to force them to do their job correctly.
I would like to do a follow-up question to a question we've asked in the utility committee. There was that period of time where New Berlin was offline and didn't pay for their part, and I'm curious at the status of that, on whether or not they'll be contributing their part for the levy.
I don't know on that. I really don't. Probably if we probably need to put together a letter from the board requesting, or at least asking our attorneys to take a look at that. If they were purchasing water from
Kern
Gardner for 4 months, while South Sangamon couldn't get the water main fixed across there, are they still responsible for making bond payments even though they were buying water from another?
I would need to look.
Do some research on that. Yeah.
I think we should have a copy, so I can take a look at that.
You do have a copy of the contract, yeah. Now, when we buy water, we're buying in an emergency situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if 4 months to get a water line fixed is considered an emergency situation for that whole time or not.
Yeah.
One of the other things I wanted to point out, for one, on the boil order, I wish the media outlets, if they get a call from the South Sangamon Water Commission and say all their customers under a boil order, I wish they would check with the village of Chatham and New Berlin too, just to verify that. They gave out wrong information and they ran without verifying it with anybody else. That affects us down here. It affects New Berlin. So I think it wouldn't hurt for them to at least check with people here. Say, hey, we heard that the whole South Sangamon water customers are under a boil order. Is that the case? I could have straightened it out and they could have taken care of it right then. But
at the same time,
well, I'm not trying to let South Sangamon off the hook at all.
Right, I know. It's not your job, and it's not CM&T's job. They've got to get their stuff together, and they can't go ruining the reputation of everybody else just because they have a failure on their end.
And Bill handled it perfectly that
Mhm,
day. I called
absolutely.
him and asked him to take care of it. He got a hold of EPA, told them what was going on, got a hold of Springfield, got them to open up the valve. CM&T stepped up and
Yeah.
saved us from having to be under a boil order.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, our folks performed perfectly based on somebody else's failure. And I think this board, I think we do need to put together a letter and let them know that it's not acceptable to leave us hanging like that in that situation. It's just
Now, the
not.
plan right now out there is Kern Gardner has a contract through the end of July. August the 1st, they're done. They've hired one person out there, huh? I'm sorry, Woodard and Kern. I got too many Kerns in there. Woodard and Kern has a contract with the South Sangamon through the last day of July. They have a gentleman that's working at the plant now that's a Woodard and Kern employee that's going to become a South Sangamon employee. They're looking for another operator. So hopefully in the future we'll get that other operator, then we'll get somebody to step in and be the plant manager, and then we won't have these problems. But
This is just a transition period for them.
it is.
So you've done well.
But that still does not give.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They dropped the ball on it.
Right.
Have they been interviewing plant managers?
They have not interviewed plant managers at this time.
Operators, not plant managers.
Yeah.
They want to get the operation portion in place.
In place
They
first.
want a qualified plant manager that may even be a part-time position.
Okay.
But someone that has a vested interest. And, Trustee Mao, to, answer your question, as soon as the boil order thing came out on News Channel 20, my mother-in-law comes over and goes, "So we're on a boil order?" I'm like, "No." I mean, I'm looking at my phone and like, "No, I've been talking with Bill all day." I said, "No, we're not. We're good." "Well, it just says chance on a boil order." I'm like, "I don't think so, but we're going to follow up on that." But yes, same thing. I'm getting that at home as well. Associated with that, but the trustee man, this is one thing that we've been talking about all the way along in terms of, we think that South Sangamon is going to be in a better position when they have their own staff that has a vested interest in their success running and operating the plant. So, these things in terms of these transitions and Dan Hall left, now we've got a new guy out there that's, we have a SCADA failure, loss of water, and, so this is part of this transition. We're hoping to get good staff in there. We're working with Lee Bloom in terms of, interviewing, coming up with, solid job descriptions, qualifications, and making sure that everyone's happy with the people that are going to be out there, and hoping that qualified people and responsible people will take this under their, arms and run with it, and have a vested interest in the success at South Sangamon. So, thinking a lot of these issues will go away by not having a contract employee.
I'm hoping.
Ryan, their own board didn't know. They didn't get notified. When I called Lee and told him, I said, South Sangamon's under a boil order. He goes, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really pathetic.
It is.
And I'm hoping too, and this isn't the only situation we've had this where there's been a little hiccup, but I just hope that when they are under their own staff, that, that we're all on the same page and so we all know what's going on and, so we're transparent and things are running smooth and we don't want one half knowing one thing, one half knowing the other, and then playing the telephone game and it all being wrong, so.
And as part of the transition, because of the lack of, the staff during that transition, Dan Hill moved down to Carlinville, and they have new people there, and, Bill, was put in that position out there to learn the operations of the plant, see how things operated, looking at ways to improve things out there, from an economical standpoint, but also to be able to assist with a transition with new staff out there. He knows how it works. CMT can provide a little bit of a guidance and a background and understanding with his years of service at CWLP as their water operator. So, we're trying to find people that we can work with too, that are going to be responsive to Village of Chatham as well, and that want to work with us as their 92% user. We don't want to have someone that's just back out there and just go, well, this is our plan, you're not going to tell us how to run it. So, trying to find that right mix of people, and through that interview process, Lee's been working with us good qualified people who they're going to be responsible.
Okay. If I can, if we're done with I want to go back to the water storage tank painting. Just had a quick question about that. And because I'm just kind of curious as a question to pose to Pat and the rest of the board. And I brought this up when we first sent that out to bid with the around, so talking about that shed and around the two areas, the elevated, the ground storage tank, there's a fence around each. Is if there's anything we would like to see in terms of, because we have these nice, a nice new painted ground storage tank, the other elevated will look really nice. You know, but the fences are aging. I don't know if there's anything else we want to do associated with terms of a landscaping plan or anything like that. But I just want to.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
And actually, we've already started that. The trees have all been cut down around it.
Okay.
Okay. And so that's been cleared out. As soon as the safety
on the ground storage tank,
as soon as the safety ladder comes, it's a locking device that goes over the ladder. I think it was supposed to get shipped to us today. We get that up and get it installed. We're going to have Terry Brown Excavation come in and remove all of the grass around it, and then we're going to rock that whole area. And then I got some quotes from a new fence for new fences to go around there, so it'll be new fenced.
Look at you, you're on the ball.
Well, if you take it to the point where we did now, you might as well finish it off. That's what the plan is. And we'll also put a new fence around the pump house across the street.
Okay.
And we're going to rock all that area too. That'll all get scraped out of there. So then now it's not a maintenance problem anymore. It's hard for those guys they actually can't even get mowers in there. They turn around and send the summer crew over there and they weed whack the whole thing because you can't get a riding lawnmower behind it or anything. So.
And then for the elevated tank, the painting contractor said they have to remove the fence for the purpose of their enclosure. And they said, well, we got to remove the fence and the post anyhow, so we know we have to put something back. Now we can put back the old material, or we can give you a heck of a deal in terms of installing a new fence. So I think that's in their interest to use new materials and put up a new fence. So they'll also get a new fence and hopefully a new building to replace the old Menard shed that's out there.
Okay.
And that building, the bids come in July 1st, right? 5th. And we'll take a look at those. If it's under the 20,000, I'm going to go ahead and sign that because we need that building to replace that thing out there. That was one of the reasons, or the main reason, that the thing froze over last year, is because we had space heaters in there trying to keep it going. And it also houses the police's relay system. So we're going to move all of that over to a new, essentially prefab building that they bring out and set on that concrete pad.
Something to think about, Pat. I mean, we could put in like an area during the winter for, I mean, I think some members of the community would like an ice skating rink, you know. So we could have, I mean, it'd be an attraction.
Well, all that is anymore, all we got to do is flip a switch and tell that thing that it's not full, and when it starts pouring over.
We already have 1 year of experience. I mean,
moving on.
All right, new topic.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 2, an ordinance amending Title 15 of the Village Code providing for the regulation of an application for small wireless facilities.
Sounds impressive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the phone companies are going to start installing mini towers. And what they'll do is they'll come and hang them on our power poles or our street lights. Ameren kind of came in. I don't know if you guys remember, they came in and asked if they could hang a few of those around town and stuff like that, and they automatically read the gas meters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have some out now that automatically read the electric and water meters. Well, this device is a little bit bigger, and they're looking to put them in towns to be able to increase the broadband speed, I guess, over the wireless network.
Yeah, this was just passed by a state ordinance.
Yeah.
Within the last month or two.
Just signed state law.
Yeah, right.
This is incorporating the language. For
and
I think a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, we passed an ordinance,
yeah,
and we set what the fee was. But I guess, and at that time, I showed that to AT&T, and they didn't balk at it. But then, since then, now it's a set fee across the state. So
yeah, and this
we're not going to get the money that we were hoping. But
Yeah, and the only thing I can say to folks is this is something that we're all going to have to get used to, because this is the precursor to 5G, 5G cellular service, which everybody has 4G now. Well, 5G is the next gen, and it's small cell, which means big cell towers will not be how it functions anymore. It'll be these on telephone poles, lights, stoplights, everywhere.
Will the big towers still serve a purpose?
Will still have a purpose for the time being, but your new next-gen cell phones will be small cell long-term.
Now, Greg, do we have any say on where they go or where they can't go? I mean,
there's an application process in there.
Right. Yeah, we have a limited say, but not like our old ordinance that we passed, where we pretty much had total control. And what happened was these were getting put in towns all across the state, and then and each municipality had their own regulations for them. And the state came in and preempted that, and so now we have to pass our ordinance, and the ordinance is less restrictive than our ordinance was.
So is that across both home rule and non-home rule?
Yeah.
So it doesn't discriminate between either?
I think the only thing that may have been in there, from what I recall, was municipalities with a population over 1 million, I think.
Well, that's pretty limited.
Yeah, Chicago.
And it does limit what we can charge, and it doesn't limit us to a one-time fee or something like that. We can't, when we were doing the original ordinance, I kind of worked with you and Joe Shadaman at the time, and what I was trying to figure out is how we can make it a reoccurring revenue stream for us. And well, this state law just shattered it in my thought.
So we can look for this to be on the next village meeting to vote.
I think it has to be passed by July the 1st, doesn't it? Or
so can we vote on it tonight?
No, it's not July the 1st. It was what day?
That's next.
I know it's coming up because Jeff said we needed to act on it pretty quick. Yeah.
Can we act on it tonight?
No.
Yeah. I mean, so next meeting is good enough?
It has to be on the next.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But.
Yeah.
The fee schedule and the recurring charges, Ryan, are on page 14.
All right. So everybody's okay with that? Should be.
I don't think we have
an option. Number 3, budget presentation.
Budget presentation. Eric's going to lead that charge.
Let me pull mine up.
Want the microphone, Sherry? Huh? You really have to hold it up here.
Okay. All right. Here's our fiscal year 2019 proposed budget overview. And I'm just going to go over, these are the basic things that you'll find in the budget document, which is also on board docs. There's a discussion on fund structure, the budget process, the budget goals, new items in the budget document, and then the last item we're going to go over is the fiscal year 2019 proposed budget overview. So to start with the fund structure, this is basically all the types of our cemetery perpetual care fund. And then we also have 2 proprietary funds, the electric fund and the water and sewer fund. And lastly, we have a fiduciary fund, which is our police pension trust fund. This presentation is going to focus on the village's 3 largest funds, and that is the general fund, the electric fund, and the water and sewer fund. So to tell you about our budget process, we started this back in February, and it starts with doing preliminary estimates of revenue and payroll expenses. And then around March, the department heads were each given a challenge to look over their operating line items to determine if the amounts allocated were adequate, because this budget does not include any special requests for equipment. In March and April, we did more budgets with the management team. In between April 2nd and June 26th, we developed the preliminary budget document that is now on board docs. And tonight we are actually presenting what is in that document, and with hope, if everything is fine, we will have a public hearing on July 10th and pass the fiscal year 2019 appropriation ordinance. And there will be a hearing notice published in this week's clearing on the Thursday to meet the 10-day guideline. These are their budget goals that are in the document. They deal with customer service, performance, economic and development, and the quality of life. So that's the challenges the village has set for their goals, and how we develop our spending plan based on those goals. This year, we added 3 new items in the budget document. We've put together some financial policies that guides us in our budget process, as well as deals with fiscal issues throughout the year. We developed long-term financial planning. There is a 5-year projection this year going forward for the village's 3 largest funds, the electric, water, and sewer, and the general fund. And lastly, we've included a capital improvement plan, and that is also a 5-year plan. And it talks about the different capital projects we foresee in the village. Okay, this is an overview of the 2019 proposed budget, and the total appropriation is $26,673,696. As you can see, the 3 largest chunks of the pie represented up there is the electric fund is 40% at about $10,700,000. Water and sewer is 31% of the budget at just over $8 million. And then the general fund represents about 21%, and it's coming in about $5.7 million. The next slide shows you the proposed budget over. The next fund is showing the budget we adopt, the estimated revenues that we anticipate to bring in the current year are not going to cover the total appropriation. And that is basically trying to demonstrate we have things that are carrying over from prior years that that we're going to have to expend this year that we've accumulated funds for. There's also a few special items that we've decided to use restricted cash for. So if you look at columns, the first 2 columns are fiscal years 2017. It shows actual revenue, actual expenses. Even though we're projecting to spend more money than our current revenues, usually in the past 2 years, we've actually, our current revenues have exceeded our current expenditures. And that's what this graph is trying to tell us. So now we'll move on to the overview of the proposed budget, focusing on the 3 major funds. The first one is the general fund, and we're estimating revenues at $4,742,205. The 3 largest revenue producers for the general fund are property tax, sales tax, and income tax. The next slide shows
Go back to that last slide one more time, would you? You guys take a look here. This is what 2019 estimated general fund revenue is only $34,473 more than last year's. We're projecting a 1% increase in revenue. So that's why we have a tight budget this year. Okay.
Okay. General fund expenditures. These are shown 2 ways, by department and by type of operating expenditure. And the operating expenditures actually total $4,705,612. However, we have about $978,000 that are going to be funded by restricted and unrestricted cash. And those items are, there's a $500,000 transfer out of the general fund into our capital projects fund. We've been holding on to the 2017 general obligation bond proceeds. We're finally going to transfer out of the general fund into capital projects fund during 2019.
And that'll cover the part of the cost for Park Street, / the Plummer Boulevard.
Another large item is an estimated liability related to accrued benefits. Our employees are allowed to accrue their vacation, their comp time. These are from prior periods that have accumulated, but we run the risk of them cashing that out during the year. Since they're expenses that were actually related to prior periods, that's why we're not including in our operating expenditure line item. We still have amount allocated for the comprehensive plan performance audit that was carried forward from the previous fiscal year, as well as park development expense of $50,000. There was also an equipment purchase for the Parks Department that didn't get completed by April 2018. And
we'd purchased a gator to use to clean the bike paths and the major sidewalks and stuff that we do now. So it's a new gator with a blade on it. It was in last year's budget, but it's going to come out of this year's.
It was received in May, so
yeah.
It was close. It almost got
yeah.
there in time, but it did not make it. So that's why it's being carried forward to 2019. And then the police department has some restricted accounts that they accumulate for fines that are governed by a state statute that have to be spent on specific items. So there are some items that they are planning to purchase this year with those restricted funds. This next slide shows the general fund's cash balances, and you can see that we estimated at April 2018 we had about just over $1.5 million in general fund cash, which is really good because 2 to 3 months of operating expenditures for the village's general fund ranges from $951,000 to $1.4 million. So we're actually over the 2 to 3 months. Operating reserve, which
good.
Now, just to go over the highlights, revenues, we did review building permits and cemetery fees and felt that it was necessary to up those based on costs and whatever, to be in line with what other communities might be charging as well. In the administration department, there's the comprehensive plan and performance audit, also costs to continue with the process of annexations. The Parks Department had the purchase of the gator that was carried forward from 2018. There was a development cost for the park, $50,000. It also includes about $32,000 to pay for recreation program expenses. Street Department, really the only main item is the $500,000 transferring out of the general fund into capital projects fund. Their expenses are basically operational. And the police department purchases of equipment from the police department restricted cash. Now we'll go over the electric fund revenues. They're estimating the revenues to be at $10,528,917. When we put together the electric fund budget, we were seeing that operation expenditures were exceeding the operational revenue. So we were recommending a 3% rate increase in electric rates. And that projected revenue includes that 3% rate increase was passed. Another line item that will improve the electric funds fund balance is that we have in this budget put together a plan for the water fund to pay off the electric fund. It will be over a 4-year period, and a quarter of that would equal about $89,707 per year for the next 4 years.
I don't remember how many years back we borrowed that money.
It was in 2015. This is a look at the electric fund expenditures. They total operational expenditures total $10,516,000. The largest expense is the electric purchases. They represent about 67% of the electric fund budget, just about $7,001,000. And the next largest item in the electric fund is the personnel expense at 14% of the budget. They also had items funded by unrestricted cash, which basically relate to payroll expenses from prior periods. The next slide is the electric fund cash balances. They are about $2.4 million at the end of April 2018, and that is right in the range of the 2 to 3 month cash balance that we would like to see. A 2 to 3 month balance would be about 1.8 million to 2.6. Here's some highlights of the electric fund. Talk about the 3% electric rate increase to cover increasing costs from the electric supplier, as well as increase in other operational costs. Last rate increase was in 2015. There are some development fees that we're expecting to receive, and they're now $68,400. At the time we developed the budget document, Cardinal Ridge Phase 3, Glendale Estates, and Four Corners Senior Development were the ones that we knew about. We thought would be
Four Corners has since notified us that they did not receive their grant, so they'll be pulling out of this fiscal year's. But they said they're going to continue to apply for it. So,
is that a federal grant that they were?
It was a federal grant, yes.
Also in this year's budget is a capital lease purchase of a new bucket truck. This is a carry forward item from fiscal year 2018. The estimated or the purchase price is $140,310. This transaction has already been completed. The truck arrived in June, and I believe in May we passed the capital lease transaction. And then the electric fund will begin receiving payments from the water and sewer fund. Next is the water and sewer fund revenue. $8,097,300. This includes the rate increases already passed in the past months, which equated to about 88 cents per 1,000 gallons. Water and sewer represent 59% and 25% of the water and sewer fund revenues. Next slide shows the expenditures by type. We're estimating $8,012,227 of operating expenditures for the water and sewer fund. Water purchases represent about 42% of the costs, and sewer purchases represent about 16%. The water and sewer fund also has some things to be funded by non-restricted cash, and again, that is the personnel-related expenditures as well as the payback fund line. And then the next page shows the water and sewer fund's cash balances. They were estimated in April 2018 to be about just over 1.3 million, and that is just at the bottom of the 2 to 3 month range of what operating expenditures would be. It'd be about 1.3 to just about $2 million to have in a 2 to 3 month reserve. And then highlights of the water and sewer fund budget. We have a $1.2 million project for the ground storage tank and water tower. That's going to be financed with that additional $250 charge that is set to expire August 31st, 2027. There included is passing along the rate increases from the South Sangamon Water Commission, which would equate to 88 cents per 1,000 gallons, and then begin a 4-year payment schedule for the $358,828 advance from the electric fund in fiscal year 2015. So some other highlights of the budget. Capital projects fund, street infrastructure projects in the amount of $600,000. $500,000 2017 general obligation bond. And then there's $100,000 of cash on hand. And the areas included are Park Street and repairs to the Palmer Boulevard storm sewer. We also have a motor fuel tax program included in the budget, and that equates to about $337,476. And other things besides the street maintenance or repairs to the main repaving of the streets is winter maintenance makes up about $33,000 of the program, and then $10,000 is dedicated to street sweeping. So I'm going to close. This is our last slide, but it tells you where things can be found. The first few pages of the budget document, from pages 2 through 8, is like basically a summary. It's basically everything that's in the budget. It's in a nice summary format. There's an introduction section on pages 10 through 22. It has background information on the village, the budget process, the fund structure, and financial policies. And then the exhibit sections in pages 27 through 47 include information on fees. It has a historical graphs on property taxes and revenues, and then expenditure trends. And then it also contains a long-term financial planning section with the 5-year projection. Budget information on each fund in the village can be found on pages 49 through 85. And at the very end of the document is the capital improvement plan on pages 87 through 122. So that concludes.
Be sure to look at that because there's a beautiful rendering of the new village hall.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
Stock photo.
Artistic rendering. How about an artistic rendering with mountains in the back?
It's an actual building. I'm not sure where it's at, but.
I guess a question for you, Pat. I know a few years ago we started the flushing program, and I know at the time there was discussion to try to do that on an annual basis as far as, a fourth of the village. Is that something that is still planned at this point?
Not for this fall. We
Okay.
can see where we're at this spring,
Okay.
but I want to make sure that the above ground tank is because we're going to have to empty that. So now we're working just off the ground storage tank and pumps. So we want to keep the pressure up throughout the town so that we don't have any problems. So we won't be doing any flushing during that time, and we'll try to work with the fire department so that they don't do pressure testing of the fire hydrants at that time.
Okay. And then also,
just to continue that, Trustee Fountain, but after the elevated storage, that would be the continual plan to still do a...
Oh yeah, we want to go back and keep doing that again.
Okay.
That really worked for us. It helped. I think it helped our system tremendously.
Yeah.
And we have certain ones now that we still go around and cul-de-sacs where there's a dead end fire hydrant on that. We try to hit those on a regular basis to flush them and stuff like that. But we would like to do the whole system again. And I think instead of doing it all in 1 year, we'll break it up into thirds. So we'll do a third, and a third like we did the last time.
I guess the other comment I'd like to make is definitely want to thank Pat and Sherry for the work that they put in along with the staff. I know one of the things that I brought up, as did I believe a few other trustees, was to look at that capital improvement program so that we had some idea as far as what we really like to do and whether or not we can actually get there. I'm not sure about that particular village hall, that unless Vern can find some money from Homeland Security or something. I do want to thank you guys and your staff in putting this together.
Sherry does an absolutely tremendous job. And she's working on putting all these budgets together while we're having union negotiations, and I'm stopping her in the middle of this to run numbers on this, and she stops and she takes care of it all, and she just does a fantastic job. We could not do this without her. Could not do it without her.
Thank you.
You have a hearing.
Yep. We'll have a hearing in 2 weeks, a public hearing on this, and then we'll vote on that night, right?
Appropriation.
Yep, pass the appropriation. Okay, so if you have any questions, you better ask them now or then.
Or feel free to stop in.
Yeah.
Look at the full document if you want. We'll go over the whole thing. But we'll be more than happy.
Yeah, it's right here, next to the presentation.
Is the whole document there? That'll be interesting to see if that thing comes up and goes through. Oh, it does internally.
There we go.
Oh, great. Yeah.
And you're in 24 pages.
Yeah.
For casual reading.
For casual reading.
There's pictures, don't worry.
There is.
All right. Thank you, Sherry, very much. Village manager update.
4th of July, there will be fireworks at the park. They start at dusk on the 4th. Same company as last year. Same price as last year. The building that we were talking about at the above ground tank.
Yep.
We'll get a price on that when those bids come in, and then either you guys can, if it's over my threshold, or whether you want to vote on it anyway. But we really need something. With the old wood building that we had at least 3 space heaters. It had shorted out all the time. I think the thing caught on fire one day.
A garden shed is not adequate.
No. So we got a price. Also today, we got a price from a company that will come and, actually I signed the contract with them. They're going to take all the wiring and all the antenna wires and everything that comes off of it, route them over to the north side of the tower, bring it down there, keep everything encased, and then have it ready to go into the new building instead of the way that it's coming down all over the place out there.
Who did you hire to do that?
It's Synergy.
Okay.
They did the work on the out there running it to the ground storage tank.
Mm-hmm.
Did a really good job. Showed up every day. Got everything taken care of. We're real happy with what they had done.
Okay. Good.
I can tell you again, I'm really disappointed in the South Sangamon, and they know it. Even the commissioners were really disappointed in them. I don't know if it's because they've got another month to go.
On their way out.
Or, maybe the guy that was running it before knew the procedures. The guy that came in that's running it now, they don't have written procedures down, and maybe that's what they need to do. But
I'll tell you, Pat, and I know we talked about this too, but the fact that they don't know how their own SCADA system works and how it functions is just I don't have words. I really don't. It's just not acceptable.
You're right. It's embarrassing. It is. It's embarrassing.
Yep.
Anything else that you guys want to ask, or anything that's going on around town? You can see the parking lot over here. I talked to Jim when we chew up Park Street and take off the top few layers. We're hoping to save all of the millings and be able to put it over the top of the rock that's over here, and then they'll roll that and treat it, and it'll look like asphalt. And we'll probably go in and stripe it to some sort to try to get as much parking around that area. We talked about even moving the bike path from on the road to up against the fence. So when you come along by the guardrail, you would angle off and follow the fence over to where it actually crosses instead of coming down, having to go up the sidewalk and then coming back. So we'll come up with a nice plan over there and try to figure out something and put that in place.
Because I know it did occur in a number of other small villages where they had buildings on railroad right-of-way.
Mm-hmm.
Is all that actually our property, or is part of that actually railroad's property?
Part of it is actually railroads. Where the fence jogs, like where it was around the corner of the building, if you took that fence and projected it straight across.
Then that is actual railroad property. Yes. Then. Okay.
But also out in the middle of the road on the other side of the utility office, there's 2 big strips of railroad property over there too. Yeah. So it's just never was dedicated to anybody else. Actually, that's not even dedicated as a street, I found out.
Okay.
But we use it as a street. So.
Thank you.
Parking lot.
Anything else? All right. Next, public comments on village business. Darlene, I have you for committee.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Schedule of meetings. See village board schedule of meetings for all other scheduled meetings. Next committee of the whole is 6:15, July 10th. We have no reason to go into closed session, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Churchill.
Second.
Second by Trustee Mann. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. So moved. Thanks.
Snarky, and she's not even here.